What's up, FJ Nation? You're listening to Forum Junkies, the program that promotes your anguish and feeds on your sweet, delicious tears. I'm your host, Spiritus. Joining us in his first episode as FJ's newest permanent host, Slayer of Pixelated Dragons, Jack of all trades, Master of all, Huck. And joining me as always, the ferocious feral, the bear that bears all, the man who put the rage into the rage bar, Darksend. On this week's episode, we'll be highlighting interesting posts made on WoW forums from across the internet on subjects including: when does casual become serious? Is launching 4.3 around SWTOR a bad thing? Name one positive thing about Cataclysm, and the effect of the VP and dungeon changes in 4.3. But first, I want to invite you to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/forumjunkies. Follow us on Twitter at forumjunkies, all one word. Add us on Google+, sub to Forum Junkies on iTunes and YouTube. Also, if you've read a post you like discussed, or have general comments or suggestions, send us an email at forumjunkieswebcast@gmail.com. Again, that's forumjunkieswebcast@gmail.com. The first post we're highlighting today comes from Anatorenator from MMO Champion, who asks, when does casual become serious? Anatorenator writes, quote, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I would like to know at what point does one go from being a casual gamer to a serious gamer? I really do not see it. Surely playing video games is about having fun, so playing games is a casual activity. My second query regards to people asking for mature players to join guilds in WoW. I cannot fathom this statement, as the game revolves largely around a fantasy world consisting of dragons and magic, etc. features, which are in any circumstances not what the mature people I know would have interest in. Please do not take this to be insulting at all. I am simply asking a question because I'm honestly confused. Again, that was Anatorenator from the official forums. The first thing I thought of when I read this post was, this is kind of really semantics, but being the communication person that I am, I think semantics and meaning actually have pretty great importance in relevance to everything. So I'm going to make this a two-parter. We'll discuss the first part and then the second part. First, the part about casual and serious, and then the maturity part. First off, I really think that casual and serious is more of a frame of mind than actually something definable, which is obviously something you can feel free to disagree with. But in my experience in MMOs, I've seen casual and serious, quote unquote, be given pretty much every definition possible. I've seen casual defined as novice. I've seen it defined as doesn't play often. I see it defined as doesn't play on a regular schedule. And I've even seen it defined as, interchangeable with, quote, regular guy. And similarly, I've seen serious defined as expert, plays all the time, or plays on a regular schedule, or even interchangeable with elitist. And if you can already catch the drift of where I'm going, you can mix and match any of these terms that aren't opposites. For example, you can have a novice that doesn't play often but plays on a regular schedule and is an elitist. You could have an expert that plays all the time but doesn't play on a regular schedule and is a regular guy, and so on. So with that in mind, what do you guys think is the rock-solid break point between casual and serious?
I think the break point is in trying to describe an individual person. I don't think you used to be able to do that. If someone had 3 or 4 level 70s or 3 or 4 level 80s, they were a serious player. In today's game, you could be considered a serious player if you have every single non-raid based achievement point in the game. Mm-hmm. As a hardcore raider, I would probably consider you a casual because you never raid, but in your own mind, you're a serious player. So with the way alts are proliferating and with the looking for a group and now the looking for raid, I don't think you can define individual people as casual or serious. I think you can say I am a part of a serious raid group, or I am a casual raider who does a lot of solo stuff like achievements when I'm not raiding. So I don't think you can actually define it based on an individual person. I wasn't actually sure what I was going to say as you were reading that until I read the second post in this, the first reply, and I agree with this person completely. Casual equals playing when you have free time. Serious equals playing on a set schedule every week. I knew every Monday to Thursday where I was going to be at 7 o'clock to midnight every single week. Like, that's the definition of serious to me. Whereas a casual may be in a guild that has 5 or 6 raid groups, and they don't necessarily raid with the same people every week, and they log in, maybe raid every other week. So I think guilds and raid groups are what need to be defined, not the individual player.
Yeah, I think casual is a dirty word nowadays within the WoW community, and a lot of what you guys said, I definitely agree with, and how you would define a casual, especially when it comes down to how many hours you have a schedule in which you play World of Warcraft. But even at that, some would dare to say that that's not, because I know a very good friend of mine who is in a high-end raiding guild, and he doesn't raid on a set schedule or anything like that. It's more or less he's home and the guild will get him in. Even though the guild is high progression, they still get him in when they can because they understand his schedule and what he has to do, and that he always can't be there because of real life. I think more or less casuals now are. I would dare to say casuals are going to be much more easy to see, especially with the looking for raid coming out, because they'll be probably decked out and all of that and nothing else. But casual is, like I said, a very dirty word, and I think the only real way to tell if someone's a casual gamer or not just basically comes down to more or less achievement points now more than ever. It's so easy to get achievement points now.
Well, for Dark's End, it's really it's about the schedule, playing on a regular schedule. And for you, it's more about time investment. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. Because a casual gamer, in my mind, can have a set time to where they play every single day. That they play from 5 to 8 every single night, but they're still casual because of what they do in the game. I don't think casual as they're not doing stuff. I think casual as in they are doing, they're doing BGs and random dungeons. They're not doing everything that encompasses the game.
Well, again, this is a casual versus serious argument. Someone could raid 5 hours a night, 4 nights a week, and still not even be 4 out of 7 normal mode Firelands, or they could do 50 arena matches every night, 7 nights a week, and barely break 1600 rating. Just because you're a serious player doesn't necessarily mean, you're in the upper echelon talent-wise.
Yeah, and I think that's where it all gets weird, is because the terms casual and serious have so many different connotations to so many different people.
With nothing to do with skill.
I mean, as I said, it could be casual, could be novice, casual could be doesn't play often, serious could be expert, serious could be plays all the time. I mean, it seems to be very difficult to pinpoint exactly when are you a serious player and when are you a casual player anymore.
It seems a lot like the community, though, definitely labels casual as a bad thing. You always hear the jokes, oh, Blizzard just catering to them casuals. You hear that all the time. But I personally know a lot of casuals who used to be high-end raiders, and they're great players, but they're just more casual now. I think the community really needs to realize it's not a matter of skill. It's a matter of what you're actually doing in the game. Time investment is a big part of it. I completely agree with Darkson on that point. But it's also, you can have a set schedule where you play every day because you don't watch TV or something like that. But all you do in game is run around Dalaran 500 times.
All right, so part 2 of the post is defining what guilds mean when they're looking for, quote, mature players. Now, Anatorenator suggests that by nature, anyone who has an affinity for the fantasy genre is by definition not mature, which quite honestly I think is a bit preposterous. I mean, like Tolkien was a World War I veteran, a researcher for the Oxford English Dictionary, a professor at Oxford, and was appointed a commander of the Order of the British Empire. So, I mean, I can't make up a more mature set of accomplishments for the father of high fantasy. But joking aside, what do you guys think of when guilds ask for mature players? Is it age, attitude, both?
In my 4 years with my current guild, we've only had one app under the age of 16. First of all, he didn't have a mic because he was too embarrassed because he was so young, and we kept making fun of him. But
poor Bieber.
That's another
poor Bieber.
That's another topic. But it was painfully obvious when because this was during the Sunwell days when he was in our guild, and you needed all the shaman you could get back then, and he was one of our 2 enhancement shaman. And there would be times in the middle of the raid where between attempts he'd be like, AFK, I have to go argue with my mom to go stay up another
That's
hour.
so awful.
Like,
I shouldn't be laughing at that. I'm sorry.
But like when you're doing stuff like that and you're expecting to be in a top 50 US rating guild, top 25 US rating guild, and you're doing stuff like that, and then you wonder why you get set out, and then you cry about getting set out when you're doing stuff like that. But even beyond age, there's an attitude too where if you're wiping on a boss night after night after night and gradually making progress, and then you're the person that one night just decides to go, you can't take it anymore, and after every wipe, if you die early on in the wipe, you'll go AFK and then sit there for like 5 minutes while everyone else is being rezzed, and then come back and be like, oh, I wasn't AFK, you just never rezzed me, even though it was obvious he was AFK, and then he does it the next attempt and the attempt after that. So there's definitely an attitude too where you can't flake out like that, just, between every attempt like that, which, when you have one person doing that, what can you do? You need 25 people on these bosses. So when you have one person going AFK for 5 minutes between every attempt, that's not a mature attitude to take for a progression guild.
I definitely agree that the time in which, or the amount of times in which people go AFK is a big part of it. Now, granted, going AFK because your kid's crying and he fell down the stairs. I mean, I personally may go, walk it off, be a man, but everybody else might freak out and go to their child and make sure they're okay. That's understandable, but at the same time, if the kid's always crying and he's always getting into stuff, maybe you shouldn't be raiding. I'm just saying, priorities are priorities. But I also think that's just that's one part of the entire spectrum when it comes to looking at maturity of people. When I've taken psychology and sociology classes, there is the biggest thing that a lot of people in the psychology field say is that when it comes to maturity, there are two types. There is the social maturity that you are expected to mold to, and then there's the mental maturity of what you actually are. But before I delve into that and how that relates to WoW players, I just have to say, for anyone to say that fantasy, gamers are by default not mature is preposterous in its own sense, and there's no logical standing on that argument whatsoever. And I honestly can't believe I've heard somebody say that, but I digress. Whenever it comes to mental maturity, it's how do you handle things. Maturity is all about how you handle things. The problem with a lot of WoW players, even ones that are 30, 40 years old and are by definition nerd ragers, is because they honestly have never developed the social tools to actually handle bad situations. I've met many young players who are very mature individual people who I would gladly raid with on the principle that I know when this event comes up and they're lackluster in performance, I can go to them and say, you need to pick it up, let's do this. They can take that. Maturity comes into play that when another person, let's say they're 30 years old, and I come to them and say, your performance is lacking, pick it up, and then they try to argue for 30 minutes about it.
Yeah, Darksen made me think of something when he started talking about, what he would have expected out of people in his higher progression guild. But this kind of filters down into all sorts of levels. I'm kind of thinking that there maybe is a different sort of category of mature specifically for someone who is in a WoW raiding guild. Like, you could be an extremely mature person in all facets of your life, in your family and your job and everything like that, but there's a different sort of maturity that is expected of you as a raider in WoW. Do you think that's off base?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody calls them their internet personalities. There's that that persona that normal people in day-to-day passing by hold down deep inside, and once they get behind the protection that is the computer screen, they just let loose.
Okay, the next poster asks if launching 4.3 around SWTOR is a bad thing. Thelms from MMO Champion made this post on the topic. Thelms writes, quote, I actually think Blizzard releasing 4.3 around the same time as SWTOR to be a bad thing. Just think about it like this. Take someone like this, for example. The person has been playing WoW for a while. The person still enjoys WoW, but the person is also looking forward to playing SWTOR, but this person is also looking forward to 4.3. Now, the time needed to enjoy the content from both games is not possible at the same time. This person has to pick between A, a completely new game, breath of fresh air after playing WoW for so long, or B, keep at WoW on 4.3 release as to not fall behind the new gear /progression/reputation/dailies race. I can see this causing people to think, should I start SWTOR? If I end up liking it and spending tons of time on it, I'll fall behind on progression when 4.3 is out. Or should I keep playing WoW even though I've been doing it for a while now? Again, that was Thelms from MMO Champion. This post lays out the discussion kind of nicely, in my opinion. So, point blank, do you guys think that releasing 4.3 around SWTOR will help or hurt WoW in the long run?
Hurt WoW, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to sound like a broken record because I cannot make this argument any better than 3 different people on 3 different podcasts I listen to have already used this exact same argument, and I can't say it any better than them. And they all said the exact same thing. WoW has always been known as taking what's popular with the market and improving on it and putting it into WoW. And what they put into WoW is just so much better than what the other game has of that same thing that no one cares that they ripped it out of the other games. As Blizzard is falling behind now, they no longer have that push where in the past, everyone knows it's no secret that Blizzard blatantly says, we don't have a release date yet. And then as soon as their closest competitor announces their release date, they either put it the week before or the right after. Everyone knows Blizzard does that. But they no longer have that kind of market pull where they can do that anymore. So right now, people who are interested in Star Wars are saying, and this is what the people on the other shows have said as well, why do I have to wait for another game to release to enjoy my game? If I'm going to have to wait 6 months for the next patch anyway, I'm just going to cancel my subscription for 6 months and then either renew my subscription when 4.3 comes out, or if 4.3 isn't that good, I'm just going to get another game. It's all about the weaker position that WoW has had compared to their competitors, that it's no longer as strong as it's been in the past, that this is a bad thing. It's what they've always done, but the situation is just too different for it to work this time.
I think it's a combination of both. On one hand, where you said at the beginning that them releasing it, they've always taken ideas from other games. So what you're saying is, from that perspective, Blizzard, with any game being released, is losing out on a venture of sorts when it comes to implementing new ideas, because they're releasing new content already, and they're not just going to, like, all of a sudden, like, let's say SWTOR comes out and it has an ability to where you can take this enchant on this item and just swap it to your new one. Well, if Blizzard just released a patch last week, they can't just hotfix that in. Is that what you're saying?
That point was just to demonstrate why this strategy has worked in the past for Blizzard, because they've always been so much better at implementing stuff than their competitors, that they're no longer doing that. Companies are catching up, and WoW is becoming stale. So they're no longer making these vast improvements to the genre that everyone is playing. WoW really is just playing to see what can they bring to the genre next. Like that was WoW's selling point. I am playing WoW because they're going to make the next big innovation in the genre. They're no longer doing that. So they no longer have that push where if 2 things drop at the same time, they're always going to get more people. They're no longer innovating to the point where if they did it with when EverQuest 2 launched. It launched a week before Vanilla WoW launched. Even though EverQuest was an established IP, there was so much lore in the Warcraft universe that people picked it over EverQuest, even though it was it wasn't a new IP, but it was a brand new direction for the IP. And then later, WoW was just so much more innovative than Warhammer was, that even though Warhammer was, again, its own established IP with a lot of successful lore already in the IP, people picked WoW. With Star Wars has more lore than the Warcraft universe.
It's got so much lore. It's ridiculous.
And WoW is stale. No one is looking to WoW to make the next big innovation in the genre anymore. Whereas Star Wars, with this, we want to focus more on the solo story and make a single-player MMO, basically, while leveling up, and really give it that RPG feel, and bringing the RPG back to the genre. That has a potential to be a huge innovation, which is what Blizzard usually does. So Star Wars is beating Blizzard at its own game now, which is innovation.
That definitely, when you bring up that point, it definitely threw off a light bulb in my head that I really never thought about before. Whereas Blizzard has climax, and I mean that in every pun possible. They're not going to get any more subscribers. They may get 1%, maybe up to 5% when the next expansion hits, but it's going to taper off. I don't see them ever reaching 15 million subscribers on average. The game has gotten too big and it's plateaued basically.
Yeah, they need to stop trying to bring in new people and focus on keeping the people they have.
I really can't add much else to that. With everything you just said has like changed my mind from one thing to another, and I completely agree that it's a bad idea. I was gonna say it's a good idea, or not necessarily. It's not a bad idea because they've done it in the past and it was fine. Didn't go over that badly. But since they have no more oomph behind them and what they're creating, this is gonna be bad.
What you were saying is there is, trying to keep the same base that they have now to try to hold on to the base.
What
right?
I am saying is, why should I have to wait for what another company is doing to enjoy my game?
I'm totally agreeing with you on that. But what I'm saying is, you were saying that what Blizzard needs to focus on doing is keeping the people they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the transmogrification feature alone is going to keep so many people playing WoW that from a I'm not talking about the rating core, but the vast majority of players. That feature alone is going to keep people from going, WoW is what is comfortable to me. And now I get to do this transmogrification thing, which is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I enjoy it. I think that is what they're going with it. So by releasing it at the same time as SWTOR, what they're doing is saying, hey, look, WoW is what you're comfortable with. Here's some new stuff, right? Stay with WoW.
I don't necessarily think transmogrification is going to keep people in 4.3. It kept people running old stuff in anticipation of, because by the time 4.3 comes out, they'll have their 1 or 2 sets of gear from running old content and not canceling their account up till 4.3. But after that, it's going to drop off because everyone has already ran the old stuff and has all the stuff they need for transmogrification.
Okay, our next topic asks what effect the VP and dungeon changes in 4.3 will have on WoW. The other one from TankSpot writes, quote, interesting that the troll dungeons have now been shortened. Pick and choose 2 bosses, which will let us now get our 150 VP without slogging through pug hell for an hour. Interesting that the raid is 250 VP, but you only get it if you complete, like dungeons. Wonder how much headbanging pug wiping that will cause. Looks like the loot will be just about everything you could ever want in a 397 gear sans leg and shoulders. Well, some odds and sods like weapons, wands, shields, etc. Seems like much more VP gear than in the past. Again, that was the other one from TankSpot. To put this into perspective, this means that essentially VP will be quicker to obtain than ever before. The VP cap is set at 1,000, right? So as a non-raider type, I do 7 super short 2-boss trolls and I'm VP capped. Now, obviously people will be doing the new 5-mans, no doubt. But what it does bring up the concern that VP being even more easily obtainable and with VP rewards being so diverse that it actually undervalues the gear obtained in the new 5-mans and LFR. Thoughts?
The post said, seems like much more VP gear than the past. And reading the blue post, it specifically says, we want to go back to what badges used to be in the past. And
to me, that means Sunwell.
Exactly. I was going to say, Sunwell was amazing. The way they implemented Badges of Justice, right? That's what they were called back then. The way they implemented Badges of Justice during Sunwell, especially in an era when people were complaining about not being able to see all the content because it was so much harder, you were able to get the top raid quality gear, but not sets, which they're not doing again, and not complete offsets. So you could get like maybe helm, shoulders, chest, and gloves, but no legs. Or if you were another one, you could get the 4 pieces minus the helm. So you can never get a full 5 or 8 pieces from Badges of Justice, and you couldn't get your set pieces from Badges of Justice. I love the fact that they're returning to the way they did this during Sunwell. I've always said the way it was implemented during Sunwell is the best badge system they've had since they implemented it.
The difference is, though, that in Sunwell, if you were, either a very casual raider type or someone who just didn't raid
that
at
word
all,
again.
Yeah, someone that just didn't raid at all, period, that you could get that stuff, and it was the absolute best that you could get. And that's still the case, that it's the absolute best you can get. But what has changed is there is now content that is being released for that type of player to go and run, but the loot that are from those encounters, the 5-mans and LFR, are less than the VP. So getting VP is actually more of a bonus than getting the loot from the bosses if you're not running raids.
Well, even during Sunwell, though, there was stuff from Magister's Terrace and stuff from the Badge of Justice vendor that were better than some of the drops in Sunwell. Granted, that was very annoying trying to get those, but I still don't have my bracers. I've seen 5 pairs with haste on them, because bracers are one of the ones that have the random enchant. I've seen 5 pairs drop that have haste on them. So I am stuck with subpar bracers. Imagine seeing no pairs of bracers at all, and then, oh wait, I can just go to Val. Like, for me, I love the fact that I could just go to, even if they were, a little inferior, I love the fact that if it never dropped at all, as a raider, I could go to the vendor and it would still be my second best item for that slot. That's what I love about this system. Regardless of all the other ramifications, I love the fact that it cures the lack of raid drops, because we saw 9 capes in a row off hard mode Sourfang in ICC and saw 1 trinket off hard mode the entire time we were running Sunwell. And we killed hard mode Sourfang the second week the instance was out, or the second week you were able to do hard modes. So there's a lot of things that this solves.
I definitely have to agree with your guys' point of view on the whole how the Valor points are being implemented and such like that. I'm going to take a different little sidestep. I'm just glad finally I can run Velocity of the Tol'vir and actually get Valor points for it now. I absolutely hate running those damn troll instances every single week. It is the most moan-drone thing Blizzard has done. I don't understand why they didn't implement this before, because basically what they...
You can still get Valor from...
But not
old,
to the...
You just got half as much.
You just got half as much, and that's ridiculous. You should be able to get the exact amount of Valor from whether you're doing the current content or the older stuff. There's still heroics, because basically what they did when they implemented the troll heroics and you got more Valor from it is they looked at the entire community that runs those and said, you're only allowed to run these 2 for almost a year.
Well, I to be fair, I could 2-man most of the old hard modes with a healer faster than I could in a full pug. So, I mean...
That's why they were awesome. They're so quick. We just get through. It's like doing Azul Narub and Wrath of the Lich King every single... just random. It was amazing, because there's like 2 bosses, you're out, and, game over.
Because the poster only linked the full patch notes, I don't know if you saw this, but for ZA and ZG, you no longer have to kill all the bosses before the final boss. You only have to kill 2 of the 4 that you need to kill for the timer for the bear mount in ZA. And you only need to do... I haven't done ZG yet, so I guess there's only 4 now. There used to be 7 back at level 60. I guess there's only 4 now. But you only need to do 2 of those now, too, also. So they basically cut the length of those instances in half.
Right. I mean, it's going to be very, very fast to get through them.
It's actually 5 in ZG, but yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really fast runs through the troll instances.
Well, I honestly think they should do this with every expansion, where once you hit the final content patch, why not make all the 5-mans that we've been running for this entire expansion, just make them go really quick now? Because like I said, like the last episode, it seems in this expansion more than ever, our alts really suffer because we're always, we're in the raids and we never really get to do anything with our alts. Because I would mostly affiliate that with the shared lockout system, but I digress.
Okay, our final topic asks us to name one positive thing about Cataclysm. Zalana from the official forums writes, quote, I have to say that one positive thing about this expansion is that it has brought my 10-man guild together and we have changed to a PvP-only guild. It's been more fun in that sense. I've been playing this game since the tail end of Classic WoW December 2006, and this was by far my least favorite expansion. Burning Crusade was the best in my opinion. That is when I formed my guild, which was back in 2007. All of the guildies that were in that guild, most of them quit when Cataclysm came out. I'm not sure if many of us, including myself, will be around for the next expansion. I'm sure we'll be back for the new MMO, such as this, quote, Titan project I've been hearing about. What about you guys? Again, that was Zalana from the official forums. This is an easy question. Name 1 or 2 positive things that you've experienced in Cataclysm. whether it be a game feature, an encounter, or a personal experience or something.
Realm first, level 85 druid. Woo! Damn you,
sir.
Tova, for exploiting to get level 80 before me.
That's it? That's all you have to say?
My guild disbanded because of this expansion. What more can I say?
There's got to be something else.
I mean-
You like Ragnaros having legs? Is that it? Because I like Ragnaros having legs. Those beefy things.
With one positive thing about Cataclysm that I definitely like is the part that everyone ignores, which is the 1 through 60 leveling. It's, if you actually go and do the
The pool and the mini golf course in Ashara. Ashara is the best. Ashara is the best zone ever. It's got a pool, a mini golf course, and a roller
It's
coaster.
pretty cool.
Come on.
Yeah, I totally was jealous of the Horde for getting, a rocket track. I mean, come on. That's really the coolest thing ever. It totally blows away the deep run trend.
There's actually a few things I like in Cataclysm, and you nailed one around the head with the 1 through 60 zones. It's so quick, it's fun. I will say there's a couple issues with it, but all around it's fun. The second thing I've definitely liked about Cataclysm is the overhaul of the new cities. I definitely enjoyed that. I thought
Oh, are you kidding me?
the terrible.
You must be Alliance.
No, I'm Horde, and I love the new Ogremar.
Leveling an alt in Ogremar is the most painful experience
I have to agree
ever.
with you.
Trying to get to the flight path without a flying mount is just the dumbest thing they ever did.
You guys aren't a fan of the elevators? You guys don't like the
I have
elevators?
to agree with you. I leveled a Horde alt for, I think like 30 or 40 levels on Melganis, and it was horrible. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to go back to Ogremar ever again. It's like in a flying mount.
It's amazing once you get a flying mount, but for leveling,
Well, that's
it's
what
awful.
I'm saying. That's what I love about it. It's just once you have a flying mount, Ogremar's awesome.
I will say though, seeing the lore of Hyjal and seeing the ancients reborn in Hyjal was a lot of fun. A lot of the stuff I experienced in alpha and beta because I didn't actually do anything but speed through everything while leveling. But when I was leveling in alpha and beta, and I actually took the time to watch all the cinematics, Harrison Jones is hilarious. His cinematics are pain while leveling on live, but if you actually have the time to sit down and watch all of them, dude is hilarious.
That is pretty good. I also have to throw a shout out to the Ashara zone. I actually really enjoyed it when I was doing the alpha. Again, I also did speed through it during live, but
I will say the one bad thing about Ashara is, as a Tauren Druid, you're too tall to go into swim form in that pool. So you can't actually swim in the water because you're too tall and you don't break the plane of the water. It's like gnomes back in Caverns of Time.
Right, yeah, I had to swim around.
Oh, guys, I got it. I know the second thing that is legitimate that I love about Cataclysm. It's the quest, and I think it's either the Undead starting area or South Shore, where you get
quest
to be
giver?
the quest
Yeah.
giver. And you're the quest giver, and then you meet
Really?
Johnny Awesome.
Have you ever done that,
and
Dark
then
Sun?
No.
Oh
that
my
is
God,
an
it's so good.
amazing thing.
I hear there's a Plants vs. Zombie minigame now, too.
Yeah,
in the
there
game.
is.
There
I
is,
haven't
and
experienced that
it's
yet.
It's pretty fun.
There's a
I have to agree.
pain in the ass.
Well, that's all the time we have for this edition. You've been listening to Forum Junkies with your host, Huck,
I am so confused.
Dark Sen,
Let's go.
and of course, yours truly, Spiritus. Remember to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and sub on YouTube. And as we will every week, we end our webcast with a segment we like to call Cool Story, Bro. I has question. Roost here locklick Batman gears, right? So when you are decide what tiers Druids get, why moose rums? I get better idea while I eat morning cheros. See, Feral Druid or lick mini rogue. Rogue equal Batman. And Druid or red hob gear that look like bird. Not hard to implement. Also, no dagger proc use combo pots. Have good stat for Feral Druid. It would be too cool to hob cat with wings. I cold flee while I fight. May buy Mac like NRE good for Feral too. Please? Sad face. If 2 LDR, see Sumari Imag. Okay, bye. If Think are broke, please tell me so I send fix. Thanks. Smiley face. My post was delete before, I dunno why. Maybe bad thread title? Sad face. Sorry my Dora towards. Rec Law. Official forums.